Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with an episode of the Quarantine Chronicles, our limited series of kill team battle reports using solo wargaming, and this is battle report number 4. It is a terror tactics scenario that's fought between the Kha'Sherhan of the Thousand Suns versus the Shrieking Masquerade of the Emperor's Children. So in case you guys are unfamiliar with this campaign, it is a limited campaign where I will be playing both sides of the battle report. I'll be playing both the Kha'Sherhan as well as the Shrieking Masquerade against myself, and the reason why is because of the COVID-19 pandemic that's taking effect and the quarantine that's also happening as well. So because I don't want to put any of my friends or their families at risk to COVID-19, so because of that, I'll be shooting these battle reports for the next few weeks just by myself, so that way you guys have content you can watch and watch some really good old-fashioned kill team action taking place right here on this channel. So that being said, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what each of these kill teams is bringing, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the mission for this one is terror tactics. Pretty much the objective is for each of the kill teams to move across the board as quick as they can and to escape onto the other side. For every single fighter that manages to escape across the board through their enemy's territory into their enemy's other side of the table, they earn 2 victory points for every fighter that manages to escape. Also, both kill teams also score another victory point for every fighter they put out of action. So, whoever has the most victory points in the end is the winner for the scenario. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so first of all, we're going to start with the left-hand side of the battlefield. This is the deployment for the Shrieking Masquerade, the Emperor Children's kill team. And down here in the bottom, in the left-hand corner here, is pretty much a little posse of Chaos Cultists. In the back, that is Kaifex. He is a Chaos Cultist champion armed with a shotgun. Right in front of him are 2 other Chaos Cultists named Trestle and Fabian. Fabian is on the right-hand side, Trestle's on the top. Both those guys are armed with auto pistols as well as brutal close combat weapons. And over there on the top of the right-hand side, that is Theet. And Theet is a Thest, rather. He's a Chaos Cultist armed with an auto gun. And of course, finally, we got 2 more Chaos Cultists. These guys are both gunners. We have Django on the top. He's armed with a heavy stubber. And they have Ranko on the bottom. That guy is armed with a flamer. And that makes up the bottom deployment for the Shrieking Masquerade. In the center, we have another 3-man fire team. In the back, that is Telemac and Lyris. He is a master of possessions. He is the commander for this kill team. He's equipped with a bolt pistol, frag, and crack grenades. He's got a force stave. He's also got the psychic specialist for this. And then right in front of him are 2 possessed. On the top, that is Ashrok the Mad. He is a possessed with horrifying mutations. He's also a zealot specialist. And right beneath him is Telos the Perfect, who is another possessed with horrifying mutations, and he's a combat expert for this kill team. And that pretty much makes the deployment for the center for the Shrieking Masquerade. And lastly, on the top, we have a squad of Chaos Space Marines. These guys are from the Emperor's Children. Up on the top there, that guy's name is Zekir Kanislar. He is a Space Marine gunner. He's equipped with a heavy bolter. He's got bolt pistol as well as frag and crack grenades. He's also the heavy specialist for this kill team. Right beneath him is Zandiar the Black. He's a Chaos Space Marine armed with a bolt gun and bolt pistol and crack grenades. Right beneath him is Naxos Faith Slayer. He's another Chaos Space Marine gunner armed with a plasma gun with a bolt pistol. He's also got frag and crack grenades. And lastly, the guy on the bottom there, that is Zaidu Vorlas. He is an aspiring champion. He's got a plasma pistol as well as power fist. He's got crack and frag grenades. He's also the leader specialist for this kill team. And that pretty much makes up the deployment for the Shrieking Masquerade of the Emperor's Children. Alright, in the top right-hand corner across the battlefield on the right-hand side is the Kha'Sherhan. So we're starting with the deployment for the Thousand Suns. Up on the top there, we got 2 Zangor. We have Petra in the front as well as Haket in the back. Those are 2 Zangors armed with auto pistols as well as a chainsword. Up in the front, on the bottom there, that is Tahor, the Herald of Ruin. He's another Zangor armed with the auto pistol chainsword. And he's carrying a Brayhorn. And right behind him is Akku, which is their Twist Bray. He's armed with Zangor blades. He's also the combat specialist for this kill team as well. And then right beneath him is a 4-man squad of Space Space Marines. Sorry, not Space Marines. Thousand Suns. There we go. Starting in the back, that is Sekenre the Illuminator. He's an aspiring sorcerer. He's got a Warp Flame pistol as well as a Force Stave. He's also got the Leader Specialist. Right in front of him, that is Ron, which is basically a Rubric Marine. He's armed with a Inferno Bolt pistol as well as Icon of Flame. Right in front of him is Kha'Sherhan on fire. Another Marine is armed with Warp Flamer. He's also carrying Icon of Flame. And then behind them on the bottom there, that is Amon-Hep of the Light. He is a Rubric Marine Gunner, armed with a Soul Reaper cannon. He's got the Icon of Flame. He's also the Heavy Specialist for this kill team as well. And then finally make up the bottom half of the deployment for the Thousand Suns. In the top there, that is Skeksis of Dark Crystal. He's a Zangor Shaman. He's got a Force Stave. He's riding a Disc of Sneech. He's also got the Psyker Specialism. He's also the commander for this kill team. Right beneath him, that character is called Bastek. Sorry, not Bastek. That is Fail Craze Beetle. There we go. Fail Craze Beetle is a Horror Icon Bearer. He's got Coruscating Flames. He's carrying Icon as Sneech. And then right beneath him, that guy is called, I believe he's called the Hate Wind is what he's called. He is a Horror armed with Coruscating Flames, and he's also got a Psychic ability. Right behind him is Bastek Spider Flux, which is a Hoarder Hornblower. He's got Coruscating Flames as well as Instrument of Sneech. And then finally we have Phosis of Vile Deaths in the back. That is an Iridescent Horror with Coruscating Flames, and he's also a Psyker as well. And that pretty much makes a deployment for the Thousand Suns. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of the turn number 1 for the initiative phase, and we roll up to see which of these kill teams will be going first. Alright, so it takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and the Thousand Suns get the initiative on this one. And as you can see in this photo, the Thousand Suns just start making their way across the table as quickly as they can. The Pink Horrors just basically move up their normal moon allowance to the center of the battlefield, so that way they can shoot with their Coruscating Flames and the Chaos Cultists across them. The Zangor Shaman also just flies normally across the table, moving 12 inches, landing right behind these little Rise of Rust ruins around the side of the table as well. While it's occurring, of course, the Zangor also move up for their normal moon allowance, except for the combat specialist Anku. He actually runs. He runs up forward. Same thing with Kha'Sherhan on fire. He also runs forward as well, while Sekenre the Illuminator just moves up his normal moon allowance right behind him as well. And the reason why those guys are running up there is because they're trying to flank around the top and hit straight down to the bottom as well. And then lastly, of course, we have Ron as well as Amon-Hep of the Light. They just move up forward their normal moon allowance to get to the next to that wall, so that way they can open fire. Meanwhile, on the other side of the table for the Shrieking Masquerade, for most of the Shrieking Masquerade, they just basically stay in place. Rango, Jenko, as well as Thest. Those guys stay exactly where they are, just putting ready markers next to them so that they can shoot first in the shooting phase. Same thing with the Chaos Space Marines on the top. They stay exactly where they are with the little, radio tokens on those guys as well, so that way they can shoot first in the shooting phase. Meanwhile, on the bottom there, we have the 3 Chaos Cultists. We basically have the 2 close combat guys, Tristle and Fabian, as well as their leader, K-Fax. They move with their movement allowance right out of the boundary, so that way they can start shooting at the Pink Horrors as well. While that's occurring, of course, Tillamook and Lyris, as well as Ashrok the Mad and Talos the Perfect, they move up forward right behind that Raz of Rust ruins in the center, so that way they can start pushing their advance towards the Thousand Suns. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Sekenre the Illuminator, as well as Kha'Sherhan on fire, and Anku making their way to the top of the battlefield. At the same time, you see Tahor of the Herald of Ruin, Petra, as well as Haket, moving up forward so that they can open up with their auto pistols, with Ron as well as Amon-Hep of the Light moving right behind to lay down some component fire during the shooting phase. And in the center, you can see a close-up of Tillamook and Lyris, as well as Telos the Perfect, as well as Ashrok the Mad, moving up as quick as they can to the middle of the battlefield, taking cover. And on the side of that wall is Skeksis of Dark Crystals. And you can also see the rest of the fire team just kind of stand behind their barriers, getting ready to open fire. And here's a close-up of the Pink Horrors, moving as normal moon allowance across the battlefield, so that way they can use their psychic abilities, as well as shoot their Coruscating Flames. And finally, here's a close-up of K-Fax as well as Tristle and Fabian, getting ready to form a firing line to open up onto the Pink Horrors. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the Psychic phase. And during the Psychic phase, got all kinds of brutal as Skeksis of Dark Crystals gets to go first. The very first thing he actually casts is Treason of Sneech and manages to possess Tillamook and Lyris. So because of that, Tillamook and Lyris will be under his command for the rest of the turn during the fight, as well as the shooting phase as well. He also fires off Bolt of Change directly at Tillamook and Lyris, manages to put 3 wounds onto the Master of Possessions, which is kind of bad because that character only has 4 wounds on his person in the total. So that part is pretty horrific. And to make matters worse, the Pink Horrors on the bottom of the screen decided to open up with their psychic abilities as well. Now, here's the thing about the Pink Horrors. I'm not sure, okay, all the Pink Horrors have the psychic special rule attached to every single one of them. So what I'm wondering is, does that mean every single Pink Horror gets to use their psychic ability, which is Cybolt? or does it mean only one of them, or what does that basically mean? That's the thing I'm kind of confused on a little bit on that part, because the way that you play Grey Knights, a lot of the Grey Knights also have psychic special rules, so they can all use Cybolt. So I'm assuming the same thing applies to Pink Horrors. Well, anyways, that's how I decided to play it. So the Pink Horrors open up with their Cybolt, manage to take out all 3 of these Chaos Cultists, manage to take out Jaga, manage to take out K-Fax, as well as Tristle and Fabian, putting those guys all out of action as well, netting 3 victory points for the Thousand Suns in the opening rounds of this psychic phase. And since, Tillamook and Laris is currently under the control of Skeksis of Dark Crystals, of course Tillamook and Laris has to activate using one of his psychic abilities. He fires Cybolt directly onto Thest, was the Chaos Cult's arm with the auto gun. Managed to put a flesh wound on that guy, so that part was pretty lucky for him. He will need a test at the end of the morale phase to see if he breaks his nerve or not, but still, that's pretty dangerous right there. And then finally, Sekenre the Illuminator managed to put another Cybolt injury directly onto Ashrok the Mad, dropping him down 1 wound as well. The only good news is that Possessed actually have 2 wounds, so he's doing okay so far. He's about halfway dead, but still, very powerful psychic phase for the Thousand Suns, and the Emperor's Children didn't really have one because their leader was pretty much possessed for the most part. So with the psychic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And it's time for the Emperor's Children to get some revenge during the shooting phase. As you can see in this photo, 2 of the Zangor basically just go crashing head first directly in the ground. First of all, Tahor, the Herald of Ruin, which is the the Zangor arm of the Brain Horde, he gets put out of action, getting shot at by Heavy Bolter. And as that same thing happens to Petra as well, he gets shot, he goes out of action as well. The rest of the shots from the rest of the Emperor's Children was pretty much uneventful for the most part. It's because of the obscurity rules, with the -1 to hit, and plus just bad rolling on my part. So because of that, the Shrieking Masquerade was pretty much combat effective with the shooting on the top of the screen. Meanwhile, in the bottom half of the battlefield, though, things were a lot more successful for the Chaos Cultists. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to take a photo of it, so I do apologize. But what ended up happening is that the guy armed with the heavy flamer, the Flamer, he opens up originally onto one of the Pink Horrors when it happening. So first of all, the Pink Horror gets hit, gets wounded, so because of that, the Pink Horror splits into 2 Blue Horrors. Now, the way we ran the rules on this one is that we decided to use whatever excess hits that the Flamer causes onto Pink Horror, and then just carries on to the lesser generations of horrors that come after it, which seems kind of rational to me, because like if you hit a Pink Horror with a flamethrower and it's on fire and it splits into 2 Blue Horrors, technically speaking, those 2 Blue Horrors should also be on fire, and if they also burn up too, then the Brimstone Horror should also be caught in the flames as well. And that's basically the way I ran it for this one. Now, I'm not sure if that's okay with the rules or not, but that's the way I ran it, so that's the way I'm going with it. So basically what ended up happening is that the Flamer operator Renko, he opens up with his Flamer directly into one of the Pink Horrors, goes directly into the Hate Wind. That guy splits into 2 Blue Horrors, which also both get killed. And then they're split into 4 Brimstone Horrors, 3 of which get killed. In the end, all 6 hits manage to kill all those Pink Horrors. The very last thing, of course, was with the Jenko, which is the guy who's armed with a heavy stubber. He opens up with his heavy stubber directly into the last Brimstone Horror, kills that, and virtually the rest of his shots don't really count for much. I forgot to take a photo of it, so I do apologize. So the next turn you'll only see 3 Pink Horrors. That's the reason why, is because one of them got atomized by the rest. Now the Pink Horrors, of course, return fire with the coruscating flames and manage to put a flesh wound directly onto Renko as well. So he is a little bit weaker in combat with shooting and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, though, his gun automatically hits when he opens his flamer, so no harm, no foul on that part as well. So with that, we skip the combat phase because no one's in close combat. Go straight to the morale phase, and unfortunately Jago, though, he fails his nerve test, so because of that, he is shaken. He will not be able to do anything for the rest of turn number 1 or for the rest of turn number 2, which is kind of bad because his flamer is auto-hitting, so that part is pretty devastating as well. So with that being said, that pretty much ends turn number 1 for this one. Alright, so that takes directly to the end of turn number 1, and as you can see right now, both the Thousand Suns as well as the Emperor's Children are currently tied right now with victory points. And the reason why is because both sides managed to put 3 people away out of action, earning themselves 3 victory points at the same time. As you can see, the Thousand Suns are starting to move across the battlefield. On the very top as well as the bottom, they're doing pretty well. Same in the center, however, the Zangor advance, those have pretty much been put down for the most part by the Space Marines over on the left-hand side. The Chaos Space Marines opened up with their shooting and managed to stop those guys from advancing any further. So with that being said, that pretty much rounds up turn number 1. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and both the Kha'Sherhan and the Shrieking Masquerade roll for initiative to see who will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Emperor's Children, who managed to get the initiative on this one, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. So as you can see here, for the most part, most of the Emperor's Children just stay exactly where they're located at, for ready markers for both the Chaos Cultists on the bottom as well as for the Chaos Space Marines on the top, so that way they get to shoot first in the shooting phase. That way they can act as kind of like a final protective line as they have their firing line open up anything that comes across the battlefield. Now, while that's occurring, of course, Telemach and Lyris also moves up to the top to take some cover behind those Raz ruins there, so that way he doesn't get shot at. At the same time, Ashrok the Mad charges directly into Anku, which is the Twist Bray for the Thousand Suns. At the same time, Telos the Perfect charges directly into Skeksis the Dark Crystal and also catches him in close combat as well. Now, on the other side of the battlefield for the Thousand Suns, the 3 pink horrors, they move up their normal wound allowance as well, so that way they can start throwing coruscating flames directly at the Chaos Cultists. Skeksis the Dark Crystal is currently engaged in close combat for Telos the Perfect, so he can't do much of anything. At the same time, though, basically a couple of card charges were declared. First of all, what's his name? Heket, the Zangar, tries to charge directly into Zekir Kalasar, which is the Chaos Space Marine armed with a heavy bolter. Unfortunately, he did fail his charge result, but he just kind of moves up, I think, about an inch away, so he did for the most part, moving up to him. At the same time, Sekenre the Illuminator kind of removes around Anku, so that way he doesn't get engaged in close combat. At the same time, Kalasar on Fire advances, moving up forward, jumping over the wall right behind Telemach and Lyris, which is pretty deadly for him because he's armed with a Warp Flamer, so he can shoot that thing even though he advanced because he's got an assault weapon. And at the same time, he doesn't need to worry about taking any penalties for hitting because it's Auto Flamer, which means it automatically hits, which is also bad news for him. Meanwhile, across the battlefield on the other side, Ron as well as Amenhotep the Light just stand their ground so that way they can do some long-range shooting. And that pretty much makes the move phase for this one. Alright, so here's a close-up of the movement phase. As you can see, we have Bastek, Spiderflux, Fail, Craze Beetle, as well as Fosses of Vile Death moving on normal movement allowance, so that way they can start shooting at those Chaos Cultists that are blocking their exit from the battlefield. And in the center, here's a close-up of Skeksis Dark Crystal, currently engaged in close combat with Telos the Perfect, so that's a bad spot for him to be in because Zangar Shamans aren't made for close combat. And on the top here is a close-up of Telemach and Lyris taking cover, and right behind him, as you can see, you got Kalasar on fire, getting ready to open up the heavy flamer, which is kind of scary. At the same time, you can see Ashrok the Mad currently engaged in close combat with Anku, and Sekenre just kind of maneuvering as quickly as he possibly can. And finally, here's a close-up of Heket trying to fill the charge directly into Zakir Kanislar. So because of that, he didn't make that charge. Luckily for him, though, Zakir Kanislar did try to do Overwatch with his heavy bolter, but unfortunately for him, he missed all of his shots, so no harm, no foul for the most part. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the Psychic phase. And in the Psychic phase, since Telemach and Lyris is basically back to under his own control again, the first thing he does, of course, is cast Cursed Earth, which gives all demons within 6 inches of him, friendly demons anyways, +1 to their invulnerable save. So because they managed to get that cast off, puts a +1 bonus save to both Telos the Perfect as well as Ashrok the Mad. We're going to need it because we'll be getting in close combat here in a second. And for a second psychic power, Telemach and Lyris opens up a Cybolt directly into Kalasar on fire, manages to put a mortal wound on that guy, as well as put him directly out of action. Just like that, that Thousand Sun goes crashing the ground into a pile of dust, and he basically goes off the battlefield, getting another victory point for the Emperor's Children as well. Also saving Telemach and Lyris, interesting enough, because he only got 1 wound left. If that flame would have hit him, it probably would have finished him off. However, not all is well during the Psychic phase, because now the Thousand Suns get to go first. So first of all, it's Sekenre the Illuminator. He opens up with his Cybolt directly into Telemach and Lyris as well. Managed to take off the very last wound on Telemach and Lyris. However, things got really interesting because luckily for Telemach and Lyris, though, he rolled a flesh wound on that one. So yes, he is a little bit weaker in combat and in shooting, but he's still alive. He can still cause all kinds of problems. So Telemach now is still holding on, barely, but he's still holding on. And sadly for Telos the Perfect, though, things did not go according to plan for that guy, as Skeksis the Dark Crystal opens up with both a Cybolt, taking another mortal wound off of him, and also following with a Bolt of Change, taking 2 mortal wounds off of him. So because of that, Telos the Perfect does go out of action, netting another victory point for the members of the Thousand Suns. And once again, over here in the bottom of the battlefield, Fosses of Dial Deaths, Bastek, Spiderflux, and Fail Craze Beetle open with their Cybolts as well. Managed to fish off both Reiko as well as, Jago as well. Unfortunately, I believe it was Fosses who failed his psychic test, so not much really happened there. But the Cybolts from the other two, though, managed to finish off the last 2 guys, which is all kinds of bad. The only guy left is basically Thest, which is that poor guy up there at the top arm with the auto gun. So things are not looking very good here in the bottom of the battlefield. So with the second phase is over with, we go directly to the shooting phase, and unfortunately, things not go according to plan. First of all, Zaydu Vorlas, he opens up his plasma pistol directly into hit. Can't manage to put that guy out of action as well, which is kind of nice. So because of that, they net themselves another victory point. However, across the battlefield, Amenhotep the Light opens up with his Soul Reaper autocannon directly into Zakir Kandaslar, putting him out of action as well. So things are really bad as well. Okay, they lose their heavy for their team, for the Emperor's Children, so because of that, they also get another victory point for the Thousand Suns. So that part was kind of sad. Other than that, though, the shooting for the most part between both sides is pretty lackluster, all things considered. It's because of those dang obscurity rules. The -1 to hit is really affecting the way these guys shoot. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase, and needless to say, Ashrok the Mad had no problem taking out Anku the Twist Spray. Just managed to put the curb stomping on that guy as well with that +1 to strength as well as +1 attack. So because that Anku does go out of action, then another victory point for the Shrieking Masquerade. And of course, there's a 3-inch follow through, moving directly into base contact with Sekin the Illuminator, catching that guy in close combat. We do skip the morale phase because nobody pretty much took injury who survived this turn, and that goes directly to the end of turn number 2. So here's an overhead shot at the end of the battle for turn number 2. For the Thousand Suns, they currently have 6 victory points, while the Emperor's Children are currently holding 7 victory points. So right now, the Emperor's Children do have a lead, and they're leading by a point for the most part. As you can see, a lot of casualties are racking up on both sides of the battlefield, especially with the second phase. The Thousand Suns are just tearing it up for the most part as well. And as you can see, things are not looking very good for the Emperor's Children. Their bottom half of their battlefield is pretty much just wide open, with only Thest, the only guy able to stop anybody that wants to move across the battlefield. If those pink horrors, as well as Angor Shaman, manage to slip past their lines and make it to the side, things are not going to look very good for the Shrieking Masquerade. They'll be great for the Kha'Sherhan, but that's about it for the most part. As you can see, we also have a melee going up at the top of the screen, and that pretty much makes up this turn. So with turn number 2 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, and the Shrieking Masquerade, as well as the Kha'Sherhan roll for initiative to see who will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 3, and the Thousand Suns might get the initiative on this one, and this photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you see, things are not looking very good right now for the Emperor's Children. First of all 3 of those pink horrors, that's Forces of Vile Deaths, Bastek, Spider Flux, as well as Fail, Crazy Beetle, those guys decide to advance forward, rolling d6 to add to their movements, and those guys just tear across the battlefield because that +1 they get to their advance rolls from the Hornblower, and they just make it all the way across the deployment area, all the way across the lines into the enemy territory, netting 2 victory points for every single one of those pink horrors that do so. At the same time, Skeksis the Dark Crystal also flies up forward as well, also advancing too, flying right over the main lines directly into enemy territory, and he also escaped, earning another 2 victory points for the Thousand Suns. So that being said, of course, the rest of the team also kind of moves up forward. So you can see the rest of the Space Marines, Zaydu Vorlas, Zakir, Zaydu Vorlas, Naxos Face Slayer, Zandyar the Black. Those guys just move as quick as they can along the middle there to the middle of the Rise of Rust Ruins, try to cross into the territory of the Thousand Suns, hopefully try to escape. The exact same thing happens with Thest as he advances forward there in the bottom to try to push through at the same time. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Sekinre the Illuminator on the top is still engaged in close combat with Ashrok the Mad, and at the same time, Ron as well as Amenhotep the Light, they just kind of move slightly downward, so that way they can start shooting at those Chaos Space Marines before they manage to slip through their lines. So here's a close with the move phase. You can see all 3 pink horrors as well as Skeksis the Dark Crystal manage to slip through into enemy territory, earning 2 victory points apiece for their kill team. And here's a close up at the top of the battlefield with Sekinre the Illuminator still engaged in close combat with Ashrok the Mad. And here's a close-up with Zaydu Vorlas, Naxos Face Slayer, as well as Zandyar the Black, as well as Thest trying to move across the middle of the battlefield as quick as they can, so that way they can slip through enemy territory. And finally, here's a close-up of Amenhotep the Light as well as Ron, rocking their way to make sure that nobody gets through and try to stop them before they slip through to their enemy territory. Alright, so that being said, we go directly to the second phase on this one. So the first thing that ends up happening is that Sekinre the Illuminator managed to fire a Psy Bolt directly into Ashrok the Mad, managed to kill that guy as well as pull him out of action, netting another victory point for the Kha'Sherhan. And in response to that, of course, Tillman Lycran Icon also fires up his Psychic Bolt and managed to take out Sekinre the Illuminator, and netting another victory point for the Emperor's Children as well. Unfortunately, shooting was a wash, so because of that, everyone kind of missed their shot, so we skipped the shooting phase, and since no one's in close combat anymore, we skipped the combat phase, and since nobody took any wounds, or any wounds are just sticking around anyways, we skipped the morale phase, and we go directly to the end of the turn. Alright, so that takes us directly to the end of turn number 3 on this one. As you can see, pretty much things are not looking very good whatsoever for the Emperor's Children at this point. When it comes to victory points, as you can see here, the Kha'Sherhan has scored right now 15 victory points, while the Emperor's Children of the Shrieking Masquerade only have 7 victory points at this point. And as you can see, not much is really going on for the most part for them, as they're just trying to move across the battlefield as quick as they can. And to make matters worse, they got to roll off to see if this game actually ends or not. And unfortunately, this brings much to the end of the game. We rolled for the D6 to see exactly what happened, and that this battle just kind of ended prematurely, netting a victory for the Thousand Sons with their 15 victory points. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the battlefield looks like when it's all said and done. Time for us to go to the after action report, because this battle report is now officially over. Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is part of the battle report. We talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the Quarantine Chronicles battle report number 4, a terror tactic scenario, and this one ended up being a victory for the Kha'Sherhan. In the end, the Thousand Sons managed to score 15 victory points, while the Emperor's Children only managed to secure 7 victory points. And this game, just to be honest, was just brutal all around. Just all kinds of running and gunning going around for the most part. A lot of assaulting and fast movement. It was pretty exciting to see exactly what it ended up having for this one. When it comes to the Thousand Sons Warband, the Pink Hordes are definitely the illest units in this kill team. And the reason why is because of the psychic rules. Now, like I said before, I'm not really sure if I'm using the psychic rules correctly for the Pink Hordes, but at the same time, though, these same psychic rules apply to the Grey Knights, so I assume it's pretty much the same. I'm not sure why they would be different, because otherwise, what would be the point? You know, they kind of make some kind of deadly in that case. Pink Hordes are super deadly because they can not only can they use psychic abilities, but they also have that ability for them to split and to multiply and to still stick around. So very, very dangerous group, all things considered. If I'm doing this wrong, of course, please put it down in the comments, just because I'm still learning how to play kill team by myself, so any and all information would be great to know. At the same time, like I said before, the psychic phase really helped out the Thousand Sons in this one. Their shooting was horrible during this entire battle report, but their ability to use psychic abilities really helped out, especially for those Pink Hordes as well. They managed just to blow up those Chaos Cultists that were blocking their way with side bolts. And so because of that, the Horrors as well as Skeks of Dark Crystal were able to escape, netting 8 victory points for the clutch win on this one, allowing the Thousand Sons to take home the victory on this one. Shooting for the Emperor's Children, though, was pretty impressive for them a little bit. The Emperor's Children were able to stop the Zangor dead in their tracks from them escaping for the most part, so that part was kind of cool. And, of course, the Emperor's Children were pretty good during this game as well, fighting pretty defensively for once. They actually maintained their firing lines and shooting against the Thousand Sons. However, it's just, even though they were putting out a lot of firepower, just didn't hold a candle to the Thousand Sons with their psychic abilities. That part was just absolutely crazy. Not to mention the psychic abilities that the Master possession. He actually has a very powerful unit. I like the way he plays. I also like the buffs that he gives up for possessed Space Marines, so that part was kind of cool as well. But like I said, for the most part, though, shooting wasn't very powerful in this game. It didn't really do much of anything. Those security rules were basically -1 to hit against, because the cover really affected both sides on this. And these guys are actually both pretty good units with 3-up ballista skills, so I can't even imagine what kind of horror this rule would play for guys who have 4 ballista skills. Orcs, I can't even imagine how orcs would actually be able to shoot anything in this game at all, based on those security rules again. Then again, there's also the fact that I am running this campaign with all the kill teams have high toughness, they have high strength, they have high armor saves, they also have high one-roll saves. So it could also be that's also why the shooting is not so effective in this one as well. So this is after the game number 4 on this one. This ends up our second turn of our campaign. So currently right now, here's where the current rankings are. The Kha'Sherhan and the Thousand Sons right now are leading with 2 wins as well as 0 losses, followed by a tie in second place between the 15 Fangs of the World Eaters as well as the Cradle of Filth of the Death Guard. Both those guys have 1 win as well as 1 loss. And right now in third place is the Shrieking Masquerade of the Emperor's Children with 0 wins as well as 2 losses. So that's good to do for those of you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all latest, greatest hobby news for our channel. And lastly, you guys, this goes without saying, you guys stay safe and healthy out there. Don't let the COVID-19 or the pandemic get to you guys. You guys wash your hands, stay self-quarantining, stay at home. Survive through this. The world needs you alive. You guys are more important to it than you realize. So best of luck to you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. You guys stay classy. Peace out, you guys, and stay safe.